everybody. This is the 1 Hour Photo Podcast by Studio C41, and I'm Bill Manning. Today we have a very special guest on the show. He is a gentleman who is a photographer and a leather worker and has crafted some amazing leather straps for cameras. And I'm going to go ahead and say that he did send me one for my Leica, I guess. Yes, my Leica. My Leica. This has already been field tested. I have already used this a few times on some shoots and everything, and I have to say I am really impressed. So what we're going to talk about is a little bit about Mark Rossi of Due North, and we're going to kind of dive into some similarities between analog photography and the craftsmanship of making a photograph, and as well as the craftsmanship of making a product like a camera strap. So, Mark, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
So, Mark, you know, we're going to dive in and talking about the straps and everything here in a minute. First of all, these are just amazing straps. I have the neck strap. I also have the strap that the hand strap that goes around your wrist. And I have to say, I really love you know, there's a look, right? Yeah, let's just go ahead and say, you know, it's also not only just a, you know, a utility, but there's also a certainly a very certain look that goes with it. And like, you know, a good leather strap really brings a camera together, and it can issue a statement, right? I mean, the big red dot on a camera, I'm not going to lie, right? You know, We've seen it, you know, man, I will go ahead and say it all day long. And an F3 with a leather strap looks amazing. You know, they're beautiful cameras, you know, and just like every tool out there, there's always going to be something that just looks fantastic. So, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But I want to learn a little bit about you because you're also a photographer, right?
I am. Yeah. I started way back when I was a little boy. Started with a Konica C35 rangefinder.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I still have that camera. I was actually fortunate enough to have it serviced. It was sometime in the early 90s when Konica they still had an office here near where I live. So I brought it in, and the technician that worked on it really did a fantastic job on it. He put all new wires in it. He cleaned it up. You know, he probably did other things to it that I don't know, and all I know is that it looks like the day, you know, my grandfather had purchased it. And anyway, so yeah, the story with that is I was at my grandparents' place, and I was rummaging, and I found the camera, and so my eyes lit up, you know, like a Christmas tree. And he noticed that, and he basically said, "Do you like that?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." And he kind of noticed that I was really I was awestruck, and he gave it to me ultimately. And then I found out many years later, you know, when I was older, that he had only bought that camera for a trip that he had taken overseas to Europe when he went with my brother. So kind of nice to know a little bit of the history as well, the camera, you know, why he had purchased it. But ever since that trip, when he came back, he never shot with it again. Because my father, he had a Canon AV1. So I kind of call that camera like the point and shoot, right? It's like a point and shoot SLR. And so anyways, my dad would let me borrow that Canon, and I would take pictures whenever I could with it. But when we would go on family vacations, trips, you know, I was always lugging around the C35 for sure. That was technically my camera. So, I mean, back in those days, my only source of information was magazines and the occasional trip to the camera store. You know, so I had a couple of subscriptions for photography magazines that my dad actually had purchased for me. And that's where I learned a lot about photography. And I know that sounds kind of, it is limited, right? Because I mean, how much can you really learn from a magazine, you know, once a month that you get at home? So I just basically shot a lot. I mean, I really, at that age, I don't think many people care about the technicalities of photography. You just want to have fun with it. And that's what I did. I had fun with it, right? I just wanted to shoot. So, years pass, and the year is 1989, and I actually had enough money saved up that I went to a camera store in downtown Toronto. They're no longer there, along with some of the other stores that were once upon a time there. But I went to this one particular store, and he had a Nikon FE2.
Nice.
With a Tamron 35 to 73.5 adaptable lens. That's the way it was in the cabinet. And I thought, is that the price? The price looks good. It was in great shape. I had the money. I said, sure, I'm going to take it, right? And I still have that camera. I still shoot with that camera. I love that camera. And I love that lens actually as well. That Tamron lens actually, it's a dynamite lens. So that's kind of like the very early years. And through there, I just, especially when I got that Nikon, I shot a lot. I remember the film stock I would buy a lot was Kodak Gold, Royal Gold. So I don't know if you remember that, but that was even then I think that stuff wasn't that cheap. It was a little higher up than the bottom of the barrel stuff, let's say.
Right.
Canadian, it was in my head it was $10.95. I remember the price. Well, $10.95 roll. So it was, I guess, better film. I don't know. I didn't really care. Again, I wasn't really concerned about the technicalities at that point. In my photographic journey, I just wanted to shoot. I just wanted to get my hands on stuff. And so, anyways, I shot a lot with that Nikon. I even acquired some lenses afterwards, like a Tokina. At one point, I had a Tokina 400 mil. I never had the money. I could never afford a Nikkor lens, so I always had, companies like Tamron, Sigma, Tokina, and I shot a lot with that, and I shot a lot with that camera right into the late '90s, early 2000s. I shot with that camera, and I've actually learned a lot more about photography, believe it or not, in the last decade, but more specifically, maybe the last 5 to 7 years, because we have the internet.
Yeah.
I can go online and learn things that I had no idea about growing up because, like I said, we didn't have the internet in the 80s.
Yeah, I remember in some previous interviews that I've done where people would go to like photo clubs, right? We had after school or something along those lines, you would go and hang out with friends that were also photographers, and that's how they learned was experiences from other people in these small social circles. So that certainly has become a much larger social circle now.
Yeah, it's actually funny you mentioned that because I forgot to say I was actually part of a photography club. It was called the Richmond Hill. I think they're still around. The Richmond Hill Photography Club, and that was in the late '90s, early 2000s. I was a member.
Yeah,
and I remember the meetings vividly. And I also used to go. Believe it or not, many people might not know this. Many of your listeners may not know this, but Kodak had a fairly large facility here in Toronto, and yeah, they did. It was they did a lot of manufacturing there, and I was fortunate enough to be part of what they called salon nights. So people would gather, they would bring images, and they had oh my God, this is such a long time ago. I think it was a gymnasium. I'm not sure, but it was a very large room where people could congregate and they could set up their work. And people would the crowd would walk around and look at your images and they would critique it, right? But it was a fun event. And I went to quite a few of those. And they had them, from my understanding and from my recollection, they had those every week or every 2 weeks. I'm a little fuzzy on the details, but I do remember going. And that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun.
I remember before the pandemic hit, I used to do something similar. We had a local community dark room, and I think once a month we did something called Pizza and Prints. And so if you were participating, you would email a print, and then it would get printed out, and they had a big large format printer and everything, and they would print it out on like almost like the size of 11 by 14, right? So it was, you get to see your image printed really big, and then and it'd be a social gathering. Everybody would hang around, eat pizza, look at the images, and then the winner, you would write down which image you liked, and then you toss it in a hat, and then everybody voted on which one you liked, and then you got to talk about the print and all that. And it was a fantastic. I wish once we get past this whole COVID thing, I think I certainly will want to now that I have a studio, we can certainly do something like that, and I think that would be really cool to bring back. So yeah,
that sounds like fun.
Oh man, I mean, I would demolish some pizza too.
Well, that's what I meant. I was talking about the pizza.
Yeah. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, so I do miss those days. But that was the way, you got to learn aspects from other photographers, and everybody had a story to tell in their photography, and it just created an environment that you knew that you were going to get some cool feedback, and like everybody was just there to have fun, and then you would have the one guy that like just came out from like the dark room and like had a silver gelatin print and like kills all the competition because he was like, oh yeah, hold on, and like slaps it up there, and you're like, oh, I thought I was going to win this. So no, but yeah, no, it's very cool. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
It is fun, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm having more fun in photography, no word of a lie, in these last 7 years. Like I said, in particular, just because I've learned so much, and I caught a bit of a gas bug too.
Yeah.
But I got into. I actually bought my first, and I was one of those guys that held on to film as long as I could.
Yeah.
I didn't want to make that transition over to digital. Okay. I thought, no, I'm going to be old school. I'm going to stick with the film. And so my first digital camera was actually later than a lot of people. My first digital camera was the 7100, the Nikon D7100. Wow. Okay. That's how long I held out.
Sure. Yeah. Now, let me ask you this.
That was a fantastic camera.
Well, let me ask you this. So, were you concerned that Kodak wasn't going to make it? Like, was there like any, like when Kodachrome was like a really big hit, but like when the bankruptcy hit like 2 years later, was there like a legitimate concern like, oh geez, they're not going to make it out of this?
You know what? To be honest with you, I really never thought about it. Just there were so many things going on in my life that I really didn't pay attention to that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And to be quite frank, I didn't follow photography news until I got into, when I started shooting, because I still shoot digital. I shoot digital. I currently have a D750 and a D610. I also have a D5300, and I have 2 OMD bodies from Olympus.
Yeah.
So, I shoot a lot of digital as much as I shoot. I've been shooting way more film though these last 2 years, but I still shoot digital. And those, these last 5 to 7 years have been very explosive for me in terms of my photographic journey in life. I think you and I talked offline about the exhibit that I was supposed to do. I had a series of images that I was working on. It was a project of mine that I was going to exhibit in 2020, but of course COVID happened and it kind of messed that up. But that was going to be my first real exhibit. And that's kind of where I'm going now with my photographic journey. Once, hopefully sooner than later, this COVID thing will dissipate. It'll become history. And we can just all move on with our lives. That's something I'd like to continue. I definitely want to continue with, I believe, the exhibit portion. I want to show my work. because I want that experience, not because I want payments, but because I want that experience. And that's where I think my photographic journey is taking me next. Once this COVID thing is all over with, I have a few projects in my mind. I do have one that I want to do, but with film. And so I was hoping to start that this year. And then, so the idea would be I'll exhibit the project is called Key to the Human Condition. And there's 3 parts. Right now, people can see series from my first part on Flickr. By the way, I don't like Instagram. I don't use Instagram, to be honest with you. I only use it for my Due North leather business because, it is an excellent marketing platform. But for my images, I have been moving more to leaning towards more Flickr. I like Flickr. I've been on it for a while. I like the community. I like the discussions. So I want to support them. I know they had their turbulent times over the last couple of years, I think it was. But I'm moving my images slowly over more and more to Flickr, and I'm still missing part 2 and 3, but I'm working on it. And I think that's where I'm seeing myself going now. I'm really sad. And also, one thing that you may not know is I've been doing photographic expeditions. So,
cool.
Yeah. So, and this is more just for my own, let's say, karma, my own peace of mind.
Yeah.
Just taking a trip once a year, and literally with a backpack and camera gear, and I go around wherever, and I just photograph, and I suck in the beauty, the nature, whatever it is I am, right? I take it all in, and it just levels me out.
That's really important too. I know I have several friends that do like a big photography trip where it's just them, right? Or maybe it's with like-minded other photographers along with them. And I have not done that. My wife likes to travel too much, so if I go somewhere without her, she's going to get really upset and very jealous of me. So unfortunately, but that is something that is on my bucket list, to just do like a photo expedition. And I have places in mind that I would love to do. I know Iceland is like one that's on my like bucket list, right? So I got 5 pro packs of 400H that I have now in the freezer that I've written on the box that says for Iceland sometime, so
that's good.
Yeah. So eventually when we get out there, cause I know they have like the 18-hour golden hours, and it's just like, I want to do that so bad. And so I don't know, maybe we can figure out a way to like, do a big photography expedition, get a few people, like kind of like what Joe Greer is doing Antarctica or something like that right now. So, so I would love to do something like that for like Iceland or something along those lines. So
I was in Iceland in 2019.
Man, don't tell me. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
But it was a photo expedition sort of trip, right? Where I rented a Golf, and I drove around the ring road.
Man.
I just drove around the country, and I didn't want to come back.
Oh man,
I was ready to live there just indefinitely. I didn't want to come back. I even said to my wife, I was like, I don't know if I want to come back. I'm not
ready. That's too funny. And it's so what's even funnier is that my wife loves the Niagara on the lake area, and so she was like, when are we going to move there? People that live in that area. I'm like, oh, hold on now a second. Like, I like it. I don't know if I'm ready to expatriate yet to Canada, but no, it's a beautiful area. I know that Toronto area is beautiful, and I love Nova Scotia. I've been to Halifax a few times, and it has been, every single time, it has been absolutely amazing. It's one of those places I just absolutely I will keep going back to the day I die. I mean, Peggy's Cove is like my favorite spot. So it's very interesting that, you're very in tune with, the photography and like your well-being and everything along those lines, like in a mental state and everything. But I think there's also some connectivity with like, crafting something, right? So we were talking about, making a photograph. A lot of photographers like shooting film because it's in a way crafting an image. But you have a little bit of a twist where you actually make these leather straps, and I'm really curious, how did you make that like connection? Like, have you always worked with leather, or like, was this something just recently that you kind of got into? Like, how did this all transpire?
Yeah, well, okay. So first off, I love working with my hands. Uh, I've always been, I would say, a creative person. I I love tinkering. I love trying to do things differently. I mean, you can see this is a very small picture of Shop B.
Hmm.
This is where most, right here in front of me, or to my side, I guess, this is where most of the assembly work happens. But you can't see it, but there's a wall here full of tools, and it goes right past the camera. And there's tools underneath on the bed. There's the tabletop bench here, and then underneath I have all tools. So I have literally like a little Home Depot here. And so I love working with my hands. I mean, I'm the kind of guy that, I renovated our ensuite bathroom. I do all the repairs mostly in our house. I've worked construction growing up with my grandfather, part-time, when I was in high school. That was my part-time job. I would go work with my grandfather just as a general laborer on site. And so I've always been good with my hands. And I love fixing things. I love creating things. I guess that's where it really comes from. And I mean, when I started the leather business, I was already crafting leather because I just thought, oh, this is really interesting, and I'd like to try it. And this was, probably about 8 years ago. And I was just tinkering around at that point. I was just learning. I was kind of like a sponge, I guess.
Hmm.
And I would go to the local stores and get some supplies and mess around. And then I got a little more serious with it when I started joining a leather guild
Oh,
here in the
cool.
area. So that's where I learned a lot, because I learned from guys that were, these were guys in their late 60s and early 70s, but these were guys that were doing leather work for years. And I would spend Sunday mornings with them. And they would, if I had questions, I would write it down with me, write it down and take it with me. And I would ask them, hey, how do you do this? And how do you get over this? And what little tricks can you recommend? That kind of stuff. And I would talk with these guys, and I learned a lot that way. But more than that, I am the type of person that I learn best when I read and I just do my own research. I'm pretty much the type of person that I can self-teach myself. So I would say that I'm a self-taught person in many hobbies that I do, because I don't just do photography and leather crafting, but I do some other stuff as well. And it's all been just self-taught. It's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of manic, man. Like, I get onto the latest flavor, and I like absorb myself in reading. I just read and read and read.
Yeah.
and and then I'm like, okay, I can do this, and that's the honest to goodness truth. And I kind of liked it too, because I pursued it because I thought it was really cool that I could kind of fuse my love for photography and cameras with something that I make that can be attached to that passion.
Mm.
So that's really the cool part, I think, right? I'm making something that I'm basically blending two of my passions together. And it just happened that, I made a strap. Actually, true story. I'm not going to mention any companies, but I went to the store and I purchased a leather wrist strap. And it's a very popular brand, but I'm not going to mention any names. And I thought to myself, yeah, I can make one better than this. And I did. I made one that I thought was better. And then I realized after people, some guys were, some of my friends that I would go shoot with say, hey, where'd you get the strap? And, or, hey, they'd comment. And I would say, I made it. And I started realizing that, hey, maybe I'm onto something here.
Yeah.
And it's kind of been a wild trip, man. I mean, Due North, D&L really didn't start until, I'm a fairly young brand.
Sure.
2020 March. Okay.
Wow.
That was the official online release of the launch of the website. But it's been a wild trip. I mean, I started with, I was in stores. Actually, I was in Western Canada in retail chains prior to me having a website. Wow. But I learned really fast that that wasn't going to be the way for me. It wasn't the right, I didn't think it was the right avenue, the right sales channel for this brand, because what those guys want to pay and what actually is involved in making some of these straps, the math doesn't add up.
Right.
So I started in 2020, in March 2020, I started with maybe 3 products. Mm-hmm. And right now, if I'm not mistaken, I'm up to 16.
Wow.
And I'm hoping to be up to 24 by the end of the year.
Wow.
So part of my my goal with D&L, with Due North, is I want to try to bring as much as I can to the table. I want the customer, I want the photographer to have the choice when they're on the site. Hey, look, Mark, oh, wow, this guy does this, and they have that choice, okay? And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do what I think I need to do, is appeal to as many people as possible.
Right.
But having said that, I'm a stickler for quality, and I'm a stickler for, doing it the right way. So I can't tell you how many times, when I was making, the product that you have there in front of you, the Nero, I think this wrist strap that you have.
Yeah.
I got a couple here. I think I shipped you the red one or the blue one.
I got the red one.
Oh, you got the Leica dot, huh?
Yes, I did.
So I really am proud of these ones. I love these ones. I think I was mentioning to you offline that, the brass here, it's a hand peened solid brass rivet. And that thing is like rated for 700 pounds. I mean, I wouldn't suggest you do that because I don't know if the split ring would hold 700 pounds, but that's what that brass rivet is rated for. And this is, this kind of leads into where I'm going with the designs coming up. I want to try to do things a little differently. I want to try to, I'm doing more hand dyeing. So it's a process whereby I'm dyeing the leather. I'm doing the coloring. I do it here in the shop. In fact, the paint booth is right behind the camera here.
Yeah.
And the beauty of that is it just screams handmade.
Yeah, it does.
And it's
like a fine Italian leather. Like that's what and that's what it feels like. I mean, when I'm holding this, and I mean, I'm no leather connoisseur, I guess, right? But I mean, this is something that when I'm holding this, like, this isn't like, I've had quote unquote leather straps where they start to flake off, right? It's like glued on. It's not real leather, right? And when you start to sweat and everything along those lines, they just fall apart. This just simply does not have that feel to it. So I'm curious. Let's dive into, because I know you were talking about the dyeing process and everything along those lines. I know nothing literally about the leather making process, right? So like, how are you selecting the right pieces? What is it that you're looking for as far as like to make a good durable strap? Like, let's walk through that process and how you're going through that.
So yeah, it starts obviously with the leather. And I use what is referred to as full grain leather. Okay. It's also referred to as top grain leather. And basically what that means is it's the creme de la creme. Mm-hmm. going in, you know, when you go into stores and like department stores and you'll see like leather belts and on the back they're like, they're engraved or printed genuine leather.
Right.
It's not genuine leather. It's what I call foo-foo dust. So this is not foo-foo dust. This is actual premium. And like you were saying before, Italian shoes, right?
Yeah.
Well, when you walk into the store and you look at a really expensive pair of Italian shoes, what's the first thing you notice about them when you pick them up?
Yeah.
The way they smell.
Yep.
Right? And the way they feel. They're stiff at first. They smell like leather. You can smell the leather.
Right.
So that is, I don't want to use the word genuine, but that is real leather.
Yeah.
And it's no different from my straps. Okay. I purchase the best leather that I can find. I do have a supplier of choice.
Yeah.
It's an American tannery.
Oh, cool.
And most of my leather that I use is bridal leather for 90% of the products. And then there is natural veg tan, which I use for the dyeing. So any of the products that are dyed, hand dyed here in the shop are just full. They're labeled as full grain veg tan leather, and they're basically just natural. Like I've got a strap here; they'll look like that, right?
Yeah,
they'll be this kind of color, and then I turn them into something like I can go black, I can go brown, I got blue. There's all kinds of colors I can do, and so. That's the first step, obviously. Then comes the hardware. So I make sure that I buy good hardware, very high quality stuff, and I then go to obviously I mentioned this is what I call Shop B. I have Shop A, and Shop A is where I have my layout table, and on the layout table is where I do the cutting. So it's where I cut all the straps. I store them on the wall, and that's called that's the layout room, I guess you could say. And I cut them, and then from there I obviously, depending on what product it is, if it's the bridal leather that I purchase and it's already tanned from the tannery, and then it goes through. I can start right away with the process, with the finishing process on the back. I want to say that the bridal leather that I buy, it's not the easiest stuff to work with. Okay. There's a lot of companies out there, or a lot of crafters, I guess, that will buy leather, and they'll cut it. And guess what? Once they've cut it, they're done. They're done the strap. They cut it and they put the hardware on, and that's it. That's it. It's ready to go out the door. I don't stop there, and I'm not saying they all do that, because I know there's some really good leather crafters out there that go that extra step or two or three, and they really work the strap. They really put their personal touch on it. Okay, and I like to think I'm the same. I have a process whereby I am very meticulous on how I finish the back. I finish the sides for some of the products, most of the products, not all of the products. Some of the products I just leave very rough and coarse as part of the look. But a lot of the products, like the ones that you have, I believe, I don't know, you have the Bonnier. What was the other one that you had? Which one did I send you?
So the one that I have here is the thin piece that's on the Leica here that I have to say I'm really impressed by, because it's, when I got it, I was like, wow, this is really, really light, and I'm not going to lie. I'm like, at first I was like, I don't know, Mark, I'll try it out. But, but I've never had a nice camera strap. Like I didn't know what to expect, because I always just got something that was like really cheap off Amazon or something along those lines, that was like nylon or something along those lines, right? Like I mentioned, I had one where it was flaking off, right? So so to have something like this, I was very surprised on how light it was, right? And then when I went through and did my shoot, I was on set for a music video, and I was shooting with this Leica and everything along those lines. And I thought this was going to be like cutting into my neck and all that stuff. And I couldn't be more happy to be wrong about that, because the underside is very soft, and it just felt natural around my neck. I didn't feel like that there was pressure on me. Now, granted, it's with the Leica and everything along those lines. So, if something this small, you might have to go with something a little bit more heavy duty if you're going to have like a Pentax 6.7 around your neck, right? But I mean, it just, it kind of depends on the gear. But for something like this is a very minimalistic design that I just absolutely love. And I mean, I put it around my neck now if I could, but I mean, but there is something that it feels right, and I had never been really exposed to a good leather strap prior to that. Yeah. So, but yeah, this is, I don't recall which model exactly this one is. This is the thinner,
it looks
cognac.
Like the trims. I think I sent you the trims. It looks like the trims from here.
Yeah.
So, but it's the black with the red edge coating, right?
No, this one is cognac.
Oh, sorry. Again, because you're kind of small on my screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the cognac one that is just a single strip, and then the wrist strap is the one with the red ring around the rivet. Yeah.
And that's the Bond. That's the Bond Euro.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, thank you so much for the kind words. I mean, that's really the goal, though, right? That's really the goal, to make people happy. To make photographers appreciate their gear even further, right? I think that, when you add a really nice strap on a really nice camera, especially like a Leica, I think that's well deserved. I mean, I don't understand it when I see these guys and they have these beautiful Leicas, or any beautiful camera for that matter, and they go buying these straps for like $14.
Yeah. That was me.
No, I'm just being honest, right? Like, I've got a strap here. I've got a strap here on my desk. It's right over there. I can see it. And sometimes I'll do it. Sometimes I do that. I buy straps because I just want to see, right? I just want to see what to expect for this kind of price point. And I can't believe it. I mean, there's no way. I'm like, there's no way I would put this thing around my neck.
Sure.
I wouldn't even trust it holding my camera.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my straps are, they're a labor of love. I do custom work. Mm-hmm. In fact, right now I'm working on a Rolly strap for a customer. He's got a Rolly, I think it was a 2.8D. So that's the one that doesn't take the scissor clips. So I'm trying to, work out something for him. And I do that with my customers. I'll try to, if a person contacts me and they have a specific idea in their head, and if I can do it, I'll do it. If I can't, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
But I do custom. And I mean, I've got so many things that are in my head right now. I've got so many ideas that I'm trying to pump out. But, time is never on our side, is it?
Sure.
And, but that's the thing. I really try my best to make the product that, people will appreciate. And, I mean, like these hand-dyed straps are, in my opinion, I'm very proud of them. I think they just scream comfort. They scream quality, and you give them a few wears and they break in absolutely beautifully, right? Just like leather is supposed to do. It's supposed to break in beautifully.
Right.
And that's the goal. It's just trying to make product that is going to be appreciated. I've always believed that when you make something well and it shows, that it's just, it's word of mouth. People will start talking and they'll appreciate the work and they'll start asking questions and they'll inquire. And, I've seen the growth. I mean, it's definitely come. It has come, and it's continuing, and I'm humbled, and I do it because I like to do it. I really enjoy it. I love making these products. For me, it's a labor of love. It's not necessarily a business, although you have to treat it like a business.
Absolutely.
There's expenses. you know, there's overhead and all that, but it's really a labor of love. So when I'm making a strap for a person, I'm really picky. Like, I mean, there have been times, no word of a lie, there's been times that I'm right here at my table, at my bench, and I'm like, no, I don't like that. And I've already completed, like, the strap's almost done. And there's just like this one little thing that's just bugging me. And I just can't get over it. And it's like, oh, well, I got to start again.
Yeah.
That happens all the time, right? It doesn't happen too much, but it does happen.
Well, and a nice strap is like something like this. I know it's going to last a long time, right? I mean, like you have the same cameras that you've had since when you were able to afford one yourself. Like you even had one when you were a kid. Like that's great craftsmanship. I mean, and they even work to this day, right? So there is great craftsmanship that went into these cameras a long time. A camera today, I mean, they're like, oh, you might get, 150,000 actuations out of it, and then that's it, right? Like, okay. So there's no expectation that this piece of hardware is going to have a very long time of usage. This is something that I certainly know that it's going to stay on my camera. Like this Leica M6 will probably, it's kind of funny. It was manufactured the year that I was born. So it just was sheer luck, right? So I know I'm going to keep that camera just because of that small little connection. And when I put it onto this camera, and I'm not going to lie, I mean, there's something visually pleasing to this. And I mean, that's important, right? I mean, I would say that a camera certainly has a fashion accessory vibe to it, right? You certainly want it to speak to your personality, right? And I think that's incredibly important for anybody that's kind of like rolling their eyes at this right now, listening to this. I think that it has weight to that. And I think that this is a very fashionably pleasing to the eye camera. Like it really brings it together. And I said it earlier, like even a Nikon F3 with a nice leather strap, like, oh man, it looks good, right? Even with this Leica M6. I mean, it looks fantastic, right? And people are going to talk about it. And that's how your brand grows, because they're like, ooh, I like that leather strap. Where'd you get it? Conversation starts that way. So, yeah, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with a good looking piece of hardware to go with it.
That's right. And I mean, you mentioned the F3. I actually have an F3 HP.
Yeah.
It's actually one of my favorite cameras. It's actually my baby.
Yeah.
I have the Voigtlander F2 Ultron on it.
Nice.
Phenomenal lens. And I was fortunate enough to pick up the last copy at my local camera store in Toronto here, because I have the older style. I don't have the Nikon looking one. Like they made one that looked like a Nikon lens. I didn't want that one. I wanted the older one that looked like it's, a Voigtlander. Yeah. And man, that camera inspired me a lot, actually, because you know the story, right? With the F3. It was designed by the Italian card designer. Yep. Right? Don't ask me to say his name. I can't say it. You can Google it. But that's where the design came from. And the red hue. Yep. Maybe some people may not know this, but the red hue on the F3 was what basically it was actually carried over into a lot of the cameras, and even the cameras today. If you notice on the digital cameras, they've got the red under the shutter, the button. Yep. So that's where it came from. It started with the F3, and it's very true with me. It actually inspired me to make some of the products that I offer. The trims is one of them. The dots line of camera straps that I have, the neck strap and the wrist strap, that started with the idea of a red dot, but that kind of when I found out I could get more colors, I offered not just red, but you can get white, yellow, pink, blue. If you go on the website, you can buy dots with pretty much any color in the rainbow. Yeah. And that's something I'm really proud of, and something I really try to do. I want people to have the versatility in selection, if that makes any sense. I want them to have that option of knowing when they come onto the site, they don't have to buy the strap that I want them to buy. I'm giving them choice. I'm trying to give as much choice. So in a lot of the product lines, I give the choice of, accent colors like the dots and for example, the one you're holding there, what color disc do you want?
Yeah.
Green, blue, red. I'm trying to give the customer choice. And obviously, the ultimate choice is the customs that I offer, the custom service that I offer. And I think that's really important. And the variety of products. So I mentioned when I first started, I didn't have very many products. And it kind of grew, and I'm at, like I said, 16 products, if I'm not mistaken. And by the end of this year, I'm hoping to be up to about, the 24, 25 mark. Because I think that's really important. I think that shows the versatility of the crafter as well, right? Oh, look, he, not only can he make, saddle stitch loop, kind of leather straps with stitching, but he can make rivets. He can make wide ones, skinny ones. And I think that's important. I think that's really important. I think it's very key to show the customer or the photographer that there is a good selection of product, and that when you are buying a product from Due North Leather, that you're buying a product that is made by someone that is very versatile in the craft and can make not just 3 products or 4 products, but really the sky's the limit, right?
Yeah.
It's just how much time do I have? How much creativity flows through my brain cells in that week? It's just it's a multitude of things, right?
Yeah.
But it's been a trip, man. It's been a trip.
That's fantastic. Well, Mark, I'm blown away by this. The quality, again, I cannot speak to it. Thank you for sending me one. You got me hooked, because I'm thinking about getting one for my Hasselblad now. So I'll definitely be ordering one very soon here. So
yeah, so if you want to look in maybe at one of these, right? The Newport.
Don't show that to me, Mark. Don't show that to me right now. So.
I have to. Come
on. So we're coming up on time here, but I do have a question for you, and I typically ask all of our guests this question. What question did I not ask that you would have liked me to have asked?
I mean, if you were to say, what's the one question? I think that the one question, I guess the one question maybe would be a good question would be, where do you see yourself, 5 years from now? I kind of like that one right now, because I don't know, you can disagree with me. You can say you're crazy. I don't know. I think it's a good question for me, because, in 5 years, where do I want to be? I want to be, I want the brand, obviously, I would like to see Due North grown at that point. And I would like to see myself in my photography journey. I'd like to be doing more exhibits, and I'd like to be doing more traveling. And one thing I would love to do is meeting up with influencers in person like yourself, and, traveling and meeting up with people. And if God willing, if that was something that was possible, I would love to do that. I'm going to be honest with you, it's the film community or the photography community, but more specifically the film community. It's a really cool community, right?
Sure.
And there's a lot of great people to talk to out there. There's a lot of like you mentioned, Joe Greer, right?
Yeah.
And the work that he does. I mean, there's so many guys out there that I would love to meet and talk to, and learn from, and maybe I could teach them a thing or two, right?
Yeah.
Because I've been around. I'm no old fogey, but I'm not a spring chicken either. So I mean, I like that idea, and I think, I don't know, does that make sense? I don't know.
I think that's really important. I think business owners, I mean, this is a business. Let's face it. I mean, like, you're making money off of this, and I think that people need to realize that, right? It's a labor of love, but it's something that's going to continue to grow, right? And that's a very important thing. And having vision going forward, where are you going to be in the next 5 years, I think is a very important thing, because the industry can change, right? There can be such a huge shift. And I mean, we're also dealing with, a finite number of cameras that are out there, right? These film cameras that have, this look that, is just, film cameras are just, prices are just flying all over the place on these now, right? So, and finding good cameras that work are getting harder and harder now. And having good hardware to support it and to kind of like, like you were saying earlier, you don't want to have like a cheap, strap on, like a $3,000, $4,000 Leica, right? Like that there's something to be said that if you're here sitting telling me that you have the confidence to say that this camera strap belongs and to safely hold something around your neck that is going to be several $1,000s, that's I don't want to say a burden, but that's certainly, that carries weight. That's a commitment. Exactly. That's the best word. That's a commitment, right? So
when I started off doing this, that's one of the things that came across my mind, to be honest with you. Yeah. I got to make sure that I make these things properly, because, I don't want to be responsible for anybody's $3,000 camera plummeting to the ground.
Yeah.
And, my father always taught me, when you do the job, make sure you use the right tool.
Right.
Okay? And that's something I'm big on in my shop here. I'm proud to say, and I can say it with confidence, I have the right tools for every specific cut, hammer, every little thing that I do to that strap. It's the right tools going to it.
Right.
And that's why I know when the products are going out, when the orders are going out, when it leaves the bench, I know it's done right. And I can sleep at night. That's the important thing, because the last thing you want is someone emailing you saying, "Hey,
my
camera just broke."
Yeah, and
right? I mean,
it's a scary thought. And honestly, like for me, if I were to get into the camera strap business, I certainly like that. For me, would be like the deal breaker for me. Like, at least for me, like I would not be willing to take on that risk, because it's such a burden at that point to like think, oh God, somebody's, camera broke because of some kind of failure that I had on my camera strap. And I'll speak the truth to this, because I remember my dad got a Nikon D90 and broke it the same day that he got it, because he didn't put the loop through the strap correctly. So Nikon has the little strap where you have to run it through like the eye and then around, and then you got to go up under it, and then it's supposed to grip it as you put pressure on it, right? And I guess he didn't do it right, and he literally stood up, threw it around his neck, and it just slung right off, and it smashed the corner of the camera, and like the button just doesn't work. He can't even take pictures with it because the button's smashed in. So it's like a function thing, right? But like it's a simple design, right? I mean, like, and I really appreciate that. And for anybody that's listening to this, I'm not like trying to sell this to anybody. I mean, this is legitimately how I feel about this, because you can't get it wrong. I mean, you have the rings that go into the lugs right here, and that's it. And and it's a simple design, and I like it a lot, and I'm very happy with it. So,
and I mean, whenever I think of something, I always field test it myself too.
Yeah.
So, if it's a new concept, I will field test it. I actually have some friends that they're pretty abusive on their gear, and one of my friends in particular, he's like, "Yeah, give me whatever." Like we call them test products, right? He's actually my best friend, and he's actually an avid photographer.
Yeah.
That's why we're best friends, I guess. And so I give him the straps. I'll say, yeah, here, take it. And he'll abuse the hell out of it for a month. And I'm like, hey, so I guess you like the strap, right? Because you're not complaining yet. He's like, no, I love it. And he does like, he's right now he's got a Fuji X-T4, beautiful camera. and he's got one of my straps on it right now, and he just like in front of me, he'll just like he's doing lasso
Oh,
with
geez.
the camera.
That's confidence right there.
I told you to test it, not try to break it.
Too
So
funny.
whatever.
Well, cool, Mark. I am truly impressed with it. I thank you very much for sending me these, and I will certainly be purchasing one for the Hasselblad, as I mentioned earlier, and definitely for the Pentax 6.7. I mean, they go well together. I mean, like these old styled cameras and leather straps with them, they just look beautiful. So I'm definitely going to be buying another one from you. So. Where can we find you on the internet? Where can we order one of these straps, and where can we find you on social media?
So basically, Due North Leather. So www.duenorthleather.com. That's the website, and I'm on Due North Leather is on Instagram as well at @DueNorth_leather, and you can find us you can find the company. I say us, but really it's just me, man. You can find me on Facebook. Due North Leather is there as well. And that's pretty much it. I mean, if you want to look at the photography, you want to critique my work, I'm on the Flickr. I'm on the Flickr thing, and you can get there just through the website.
Very cool. I need to get on a Studio C41 Flickr page going. I have had several people saying, yes, bring it back. And, Instagram is there, but it's not as enjoyable. A lot of times I do find myself finding more research images like, I'm really interested in, like you were mentioning, the Voigtlander Ultron F2. Like, I've been eyeing that lens for my Leica, so, that's like the place I often find myself go to for that kind of research and that information. So, certainly, we need to bring Flickr back. So, well, thank you, Mark. I really appreciate it. I very much enjoyed this conversation. Listeners, please go check out Mark Rossi, Due North Leather Goods. All right, guys. Well, that wraps it up for this episode. You can find Studio C41 on our Instagram at studio.c41. You can find us over at Twitter, studio_C41, and even on this YouTube channel. All right, guys. Well, until the next episode, shoot some film. Dang it.